A man accidentally discovered during a physical exam that a wealthy man had hidden his fortune inside his body. Now every prisoner in the jail wanted to cut him open to get the cash. Looking at the fragile rich man, Babby realized this might be his only chance to escape, because the prison colony they were being sent to forced inmates into unpaid hard labor, and no one had ever made it out alive. After the prisoners boarded the ship, Babby quickly found a chance to approach the rich man.
We've got a lot of eyes on you. I can keep you safe. All I need is enough money for an escape.
However, Dega refused his offer. He believed bribing the guards would be more reliable than trusting Baby. Late that night, Dega was awakened by a low and painful sobbing sound. He saw the man beside him being cut open.
I know you hide your money in your guns.
The killer took half the cash from the body and threw it on the ground. When the guards arrived, they picked up the money, then ordered someone to throw the corpse into the sea. The surrounding prisoners stayed silent the entire time. Here, human life meant nothing. At dawn, Dega went to find Babby on his own. He agreed to the deal Babby had offered earlier. He wanted to make it to the island alive. When Babby asked if he wanted to escape together, Dega refused, because his wife was appealing his case, and he believed he would be home soon. That same night, the killer who murdered for money set his sights on Dega. Luckily, Baby was prepared and managed to subdue him. This was the first time he saved Dega, but Babby was punished by the guards for fighting. A few weeks later, they finally arrived at the isolated island prison security. There was extremely tight. The warden stood high above them. Looking down at the new prisoners, he told them, anyone who tries to escape the first time will face 2 years in solitary. The second time means 5 years alone, and a third attempt sends them to a harsher island prison. If anyone dares to kill, they will be sent straight to execution. When Babby and the others reached their cell, they realized the reality was even worse than what the warden described. Dozens of people were crammed onto a single shared bed. The ceiling was filled with blood-sucking bats, and there was no privacy at all for using the toilet. During the day, prisoners worked in the quarry. Under the blazing sun, they carried massive stones with their bare hands. People died from exhaustion almost every day. On the first day, Dega could barely hold on. His mind was close to breaking. He kept thinking his wife would come save him. By the second day, he no longer had the strength to push the cart. The food there gave him severe diarrhea, and he also lost the money hidden inside his body. When Babby heard the money was gone, he immediately started searching for it. This caught the attention of the guards. Fortunately, before they discovered anything, Babby managed to find the money again. At this point, Dega was completely drained. Babby had no choice but to lift him onto a cart and push him forward. One man barely alive, the other struggling to endure, and no one knew when this suffering would end. That day, while the prisoners were working outside, they saw a truck carrying prostitutes stuck in the mud. These women were brought in to serve high-ranking prison officials. The pimp leading them was allowed to move in and out of the prison freely. Babby made a deal with him. He offered 5,000 francs in exchange for a chance to get out to sea. The man gave him 3 days to get ready. His companion Dega was wealthy, and he had hidden the money inside his own body. While they were washing up after work, several prisoners bribed the guards. They were after the money inside. Babby rushed in without hesitation to protect him. Dega was frozen in fear the entire time. In the end, Babby drove them away that night as they lay down to sleep. Dega realized he might never live to see the day he got out. He could be killed at any moment, so he decided to escape with Babby. The next morning, all the prisoners were taken to the execution ground because one inmate had tried to escape and had killed a guard. The guards dragged him forward and placed him under the guillotine. The warden wanted to use his fate as a warning. After the execution, the warden specifically called out, ordering Baby and Dega to deal with the body. On the way to the burial ground, blood stained Dega's prison clothes. Fear left him standing there, unable to move. Seeing his blank stare, the guard began whipping him. When Babby saw the guard would not stop, he picked up a stone and struck the guard to the ground. Sirens suddenly blared behind them. Babby turned and ran into the rainforest. Gunshots and shouting echoed behind him. He dove into the river and barely avoided being shot. Babby reached the meeting spot and came to the pimp's boat. He promised to pay double if he was taken away, but the prison had offered a higher price. Soon after, Babby was captured and brought back. Luckily, the guard he struck did not die. According to prison rules, he was sentenced to 2 years of solitary confinement on another island. Babby was then thrown into a cellar less than 5 square meters. There was no sunlight and no sound. Almost every day, prisoners went mad or died, and their bodies were dragged away without care. Each day's food was only half a bowl of thin soup, barely enough to stay alive. But to survive, Babby drank every last drop. On top of that, the guard he had knocked out before would often come to take revenge, beating him until he was covered in injuries every time. No one treated his wounds. He could only lie in bed and wait for them to heal slowly. Just when he was about to give up, Babby found someone had left him half a coconut and a note that said there would be one every day from now on. He knew Dega had paid someone off, giving him a reason to keep living. Babby savored the sweet taste of the coconut and slowly regained his strength. He began to train his body inside the cellar. One day during food delivery, someone suddenly wanted to check the bucket. Sounds of fighting came from outside. Blood began seeping through the crack under the door. The prisoner who brought the food was beaten to death. The inmate spent 2 years in solitary without falling apart. That was because someone secretly slipped him a coconut every single day. In the end, the warden discovered it. He personally came to interrogate Baby.
Who sent you those coconuts?
But Baby stayed completely silent because he would never betray his friend. Seeing this, the warden ordered his food to be cut in half. From then on, Baby had even less to eat each day, just barely enough to keep him alive. Even though he endured hunger every day, his will was never broken. Inside that tiny isolation cell, he never stopped resisting and never gave up his desire for freedom. After some time, the warden thought Babby had been completely crushed, so he brought him a bowl of meat soup. As long as Babby gave up one name, he would get meat with every meal from then on. But Babby was not tempted at all. Instead, he even tried to feed the soup to the warden. The warden had never seen a prisoner this tough. He decided to slowly torture him to death. He ordered his men to seal the ceiling of the cellar, forcing Baby to live in total darkness. Over time, Babby began to have hallucinations. He saw his fiancée and the happy moments they once shared, playing over and over in his mind. When his time in solitary finally ended, both his body and mind had completely collapsed. When the guards dragged him out, he was extremely weak. There was almost no flesh left on him. By this time, Dega had become the warden's accountant. Thanks to his skill with numbers, and no longer had to do hard labor in the quarry, Dega rushed to the infirmary to see Babby. But Babby stared blankly and showed no response when spoken to. Seeing what he had become because of him, Dega was filled with deep guilt.
Sorry, it's my fault you're here. As you predicted, my pills but my wife's doing very well. She recently married my lawyer.
Well, to hell with her then.
Babby suddenly spoke, which shocked and relieved Dega. It turned out Babby had been pretending to be insane the whole time. He knew it was the only way to survive, and he had never given up on escaping. Dega told Babby. On Sunday night, the warden would host a movie for officials and their families. At that time, everyone would let their guard down. They needed to get a boat before then and lure away the fat man guarding the patients. Their chances of escape would be high. After they finalized the plan, Babby kept pretending to be insane. He secretly hid the sedative pills given by the doctor. That night, he accidentally discovered the fat man had a shameful secret habit. So he found Matue, who was often harassed by that man, and told him about the escape plan. Matue immediately agreed to join Dega. Also found a bearded man who could get them a boat. With that, everything was ready. On Sunday night, Dega ground the sedatives into powder and mixed them into wine, then poured it into the guards' cups. The bearded man pretended to be sick and lay on the bed. The perverted fat man showed up. Matu followed him into the bathroom. Babby and the bearded man quickly removed the bed leg. Then they followed into the bathroom. While the man was completely distracted, they struck the back of his head hard. Matu wanted to kill the man who had abused him, but Babby stopped him, because if they killed someone and the escape failed, they would all be sent to the guillotine. At that moment, the guards downstairs heard the noise. Luckily, the guard who came to check collapsed at the doorway as the drugs kicked in. Then the three of them rushed to the first floor and knocked out the other two half-conscious guards. But what came next did not go as planned.